Alright, let's fucking roll. Ready? And go.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Waking Warriors podcast. Episode
14, I think.
yes,
Yeah.
and we are still dealing with technology and microphone stuff. So I didn't over the week figure out how to get both microphones to work at the same time. So now we have one, and we're making it work.
Yeah. We honestly haven't been, I'll be transparent, putting as much effort into this, like, setup part as much as we could. Cause,
Although I would really like to, but you just get frustrated. So you're just like, it's fine. Let's run it.
like, right now, I don't want to do it right now. I want to do it on a fucking day, like you come home from work, let's fucking do it then. I don't want to fucking do it, like,
I meant
right
like
before the
literal
podcast.
setup, like putting lights and
No.
pieces and.
Yeah, like setting it up, finding out how to do the lighting and how to do the microphone or whatever else. We're just not putting.
But then we don't pull it out until we record, and then at that point in time,
because it's out of sight, out of mind.
We're ready to record, so like.
Which is our fault, but not but it is our fault. So therefore, we might have echoing on here, or we might have like shadows on here, or you're whitewashed, or blah blah blah, right? So eventually we'll just fucking get this rolling all together. And in the meantime, we're just gonna have to deal with bullshit. So, because once we figure it out, it's no big deal. It's like learning anything new, like. But I'm not a fan of the techie shit, so this isn't like my area of interest, I suppose. So it doesn't seem like it's much your area of interest. So then it just kind of gets neglected. So, eventually one of us will have to step up and fucking deal with it.
Probably me, just because I have more patience.
Well, yeah.
This
maybe
one, anyway,
maybe for the sound side of things, but I can figure out the lights and stuff. I think that's more. I just don't like technology itself. Like high tech technology is fucking annoying. I just want to talk into it and then just do what I tell it to do.
Same. We each have our own, and it sounds great and picks up. But just letting you know where we are. So if sounds a little off or whatever, like we will figure it out.
Yeah. And we're just exposing our own stupidity, laziness, neglectfulness, for what it is. So, like, clearly, this is part of our process / downfall, So, but it's part of the journey. So, let's move on. This week we're talking about attachment, which I really love. Because it's a very dynamic thing because it transpires into so many different areas in your life, like emotions, animals, people, work, like no matter what. It's like it's a very muddy topic because they all like, attachment goes into everything, right?
Yeah, it is like generalizable.
Yeah. Yep. And for me, living unattached life is way better than living an attached life to a degree, right? Because without attachment, you don't get those highs and those lows because you're unattached. You know what I mean? So if you don't care about anything and you have no attachment to it, then it doesn't matter how it turns out. So there's something to be said with that because some things it's a good thing not to be attached, good, and other things like you should be attached to. You should and shouldn't be attached to certain things. So should, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, don't be attached to the outcome of that's Wes. Don't be attached to the outcome of something that's you can't control. Like that would be a very good thing not to be attached to.
Right. Well, and I think, and then there are things. Continue on. You're gonna say that are like acceptable to be attached to.
Understandable. I would say understandable, not because I'd say there's rational attachments and irrational attachments.
So I feel like we need to back it up. What does attachment mean? To
Um, attachment. Shit, I have to look up the definition to be exact.
What
but
does it mean to you?
yeah, I fucking heard you. Thanks.
Well, I didn't know that you did because you were going.
I
on
was
with that
continuing.
Mm.
Because I wanted to explain myself because you just asked what it meant to me. So in order to have that, I have to explain like the actual like legitimate definition in my definition because my attachment to the literal definition is part of my definition. So attachment would be like you having a strong or not strong feeling, typically feeling, I think. Could be thought, I guess, but usually a feeling to whatever the subject might be, you know, like cat. Anyways. So, this is such a clusterfuck today.
It is. I think even just energetically.
Yeah, for sure. Yep. But this is like even more reason to fucking do it. So. But yeah, a strong or not strong attachment or feeling. Attachment is almost like a feeling or a thought. In my personal experience.
Yeah, I would agree. Some emotional tie to something.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yep, for sure. And so, like, people have emotional ties or attachments to, like, their very first car. Because I did it for a long time. I didn't want to get rid of my very first car. And you can call it sentimental or whatever else. And somebody might call that a justified thing. And, you know, somebody else might say, well, that's just absolutely fucking stupid. It's just a car. It's just, you know, it's metal and tires and rubber and, you know, blah, blah, blah. So... and that's where it comes to there are rational attachments and irrational attachments because you put things, you almost like prioritize things with your attachment level, right? So, but it goes a lot deeper than that too because, like, yeah, it just does.
Yeah, so like you had mentioned before, like it's like super generalizable. So like the first car popped into your head just now, but the like one that popped in my head was like clearly I have an attachment to you as like my husband. That is like one of the rational ones, but I could even have like an unhealthy attachment to you that would then make it like irrational.
Yeah, for sure.
Or like animals. Like we've had conversations around Taz, who is our oldest, and like I had very much have an attachment to Taz. Like he.
Yeah, his death is probably gonna hit you pretty hard.
Right.
And well, both
even
of
just
us.
Hearing that, see, like.
Both of us.
Yeah.
But I think I will overcome it a lot faster in my personal experience because I'm able to work through my attachments faster, in my opinion.
But I also have an awareness that, like, because as humans, we are going to form those attachments to people, to animals, to moments, to cars. Like, I think some of that is, it's really normal as a human being to have those attachments, but we also need to be mindful of, like, because if I have such a strong and, like, unhealthy attachment to Taz, per se, or even you, like, if one of you were to be gone and then I wasn't able to, like, move on from, or not move on, but, like, wasn't able to grieve through that in a healthy way and then, like, carry on with my life, like, that would be an unhealthy attachment because then I am suffering due to my attachment to that person, that thing.
Yeah. People have attachments to even, like, theoretical situations. You know, like the if movement, you know, like what if this happens? And like people get all like, oh, they have an attachment to that. Mm-hmm. Like, and we all do it, to be honest, like even myself, which I, you know, obviously don't appreciate of myself, but like, cause I'm always thinking, oh, what if this happens? What if that happens? You know what? I just fucking like thinking, and it works for me and it works against me. But I just can't let it be uncontrolled. So, but let's look at this at like a different thing. Like if you're a Christian and you read the Bible, it says don't judge. Like, and they're not just talking about don't judge people and don't judge this. He's talking about don't judge things.
Period.
Don't judge, period. You know, that's it. Boom. Don't judge. Like, and obviously we all judge people. We all judge situations as good and bad situations. We all judge feelings as good and bad feelings, and so on and so forth. And what we have to do is learn to, and it's a lifelong journey, we have to learn how to enjoy things almost with being not disattached, but being able to draw a line in the sand, and when to like not. What am I saying? To not be too attached, I guess. I mean, that's.
Well, so where I'm going in my head is like neutral almost, which you don't have to be neutral as like a human, but looking at like emotions just as this is just the emotion. Like we as humans tend to label things like, well, some bad emotions are sad, angry, jealous. Those are bad. And then the good ones are like happy, joyful, excited.
Yeah.
Like, and that's not, there are no good or bad emotions. Like all emotions just are.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily want to say the word neutral again because I feel like neutral makes it seem like you're in this place of like
Neutrality. Yeah.
like not caring almost, but it's like all emotions are just what they are. You are just happy, you are just sad. And not even attaching to that. Like people can attach to their emotions so strongly. Like
Oh, yeah.
I am sad, I am depressed, and I have started I mean that I don't know if I've done it lately, but like I used to just say like I have sensations of whatever it was, especially for like the more uncomfortable emotions. Like if I'm experiencing sensations of anxiety, that's how I say it. I don't say I have anxiety because then I'm attaching to that emotion. I'm like identifying with it.
And that's a good call. I should actually do that too. I'm experiencing sensations rather than I have anxiety or some shit like that. Um, fuck. And we have to recognize like why we think like that too, because basically our thing can emotions be unpleasant, sure, yes, but it doesn't mean necessarily it's bad. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it just means it's there. And so who told us whether this is good or bad? We just watched these things, through society, and society's, like, oh, if they're sad, we got to feel bad for that person, and blah blah blah. You know what I mean? So, and anger is just another emotion, and all these things are just emotions, and we all, have these certain ways of looking at them, which is just so unnecessary because of the thought patterns that we've attached to the emotions.
And like you said, like you brought up the judgment piece, like we just judge these things.
Yeah.
Like
yeah, exactly.
A situation or a person or a feeling, we judge it. And that's the same thing as kind of like the attachment, because as soon as you're judging to it, you have an emotional tie, or else you wouldn't feel the need to judge.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Ukraine war itself, like fucking people are like all up in arms about him and like invading Ukraine, Putin. And I have no attachment to that, clearly, like personally. I don't live over there. I don't do business over there. I have no attachment to that because I have no ties to that, right? So it's easy for me to be disconnected about that. Now, there might be some more empathetic, sympathetic, or whatever people, and they see this shit and they're like, oh my God, those poor people, and, that's, again, to a potential or to a degree, rational understanding, like, okay, I understand you, like, but is it necessary? Does it serve you? Does it, like, kind of thing? So, or even the market, like, well, let's go back to the Ukraine and finish that. Like, you don't know the outcome of that. Like, you don't know the reasoning that he's doing that. You don't know the fucking facts, right? I don't know the facts. I'm not gonna sit here. I don't know what the fucking TV show tells me, and I don't believe it anyways. So how am I gonna sit here and criticize Putin or whatever for making a decision, a very large decision, and I don't even have near as much power as he is, so I'm not gonna fucking sit there and criticize him and what he's doing or done or whatever else. So, yeah.
Yeah, where my head goes in that aspect too is like again with the TV and the media, like we don't even really know. So like that's what keeps me from like, because when it first happened, I feel like I had like somewhat of an emotional tie because I talked about this at work a little bit. Like seeing that and like seeing some of the videos and things, like it just that war for me, I think just being 28 years old, like I was more aware of it, whereas like other wars, like thinking about like 9/11 and like Middle Eastern wars, like as long as I can remember, we've been at war or had troops in the Middle East for like the majority of like my life that I can remember.
So you're almost desensitized to it.
that specifically.
Yeah, which
and
is
this one was like new and different.
Detachment almost too.
Yeah.
So.
And this one was like new and different, and so I had just said that, like, yeah, we've been in war before, like in my years of being able to remember those things, but this one, for whatever reason, at first hit me differently. But then I think where I'm at this point, like I've been a little bit removed from it, so it doesn't quite.
We're not even involved in that war, really.
No, I know, but even like seeing things and reading things, like I'm a lot more removed now compared to when it first happened.
Yeah.
And I understand too that that's like the word privilege is coming to mind, but I don't know if that's the right word, that I'm like able to just remove myself from that, because I know clearly those people are not.
Yeah, for sure. But, I mean, they are to a degree, right? Because we all make those choices. We choose to live there. We can choose to fucking leave and, you know, everything else. So, we all have choices to make, and, you know, like.
Not easy, though, but yeah.
I'm not saying they're easy. I'm just saying we have choices, so everybody has to deal with their own consequences, regardless of the situation. So.
But even that, yeah, like looking at war in the world and stuff, like we have, like saying that that's wrong or bad or evil, like, and I think a lot of that just comes from conditioning and programming again, but also like what's, like you said, what's the point of having that emotional tie, attachment, that judgment about the situation that just
has nothing to do with you.
Like it just is. It's happening, so like what is me being all up in arms and being mad, and like that's just like making myself personally suffer, because that's not doing anything to Putin, that's not doing anything to help, like.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm not trying to make this about the television and, you know, the fucking news media and everything else, but you have to recognize when you watch that shit, they're targeting you. Like, they're targeting your attachments. They're targeting your attachment to racism. They're targeting your attachments to women's rights. They're targeting your you're targeting your attachments to children. They're targeting your right, wrong, good, bad, whatever. I don't give a fuck.
Those are all judgments.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck. It doesn't matter. I'm just telling you, they are attacking your attachments to get you up in arms, to get you irritated, you know, and everything else. So if, you know, you fucking fall into that shit, you're just playing by their you know, into their fucking scam to begin with. And I'm not saying, you know, I never do. I do rarely for the most part, but, you know, like, we all do at some point. We all fall into their attachments, or their scam of, you know, allowing them to pull our strings of attachments, you know. So, you know, they're always showing all this stupid shit on TV. Like, when we go to my fucking parents and they're watching the 6 o'clock news or whatever, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude, turn this shit off. I'm like, this is so stupid. I'm like, yeah, some guy got shot. Yeah, fucking this happened. Yeah, that happened. Like,
that makes me think.
Does it matter? Does that affect my life? No, I don't have any attachment to that.
So, because part of me, I think, like, news specifically, I am totally in line with where you're coming from. But then I also think about, like, those commercials with the dogs that are just super sad. Like, that's clearly what they're doing, right? They put on this super sad music. They have these, like, really terrible, not even terrible a lot of the time, sometimes, anyway. Yeah! With, what's her face? McLaughlin?
Yeah, Sarah McLaughlin.
And so, but I think, and this is where maybe, like, rational, irrational is, I don't know, a conversation. Let me know your thoughts, I guess. But I think some of those things, though, can be, like, clues to, like, oh, something inside me really cares about this.
Yeah.
And then you can go and do something, like, where you actually have reach and actually have, like, the ability to do so. Because just watching the news and getting mad about police brutality, or just watching those commercials and being sad and sending money to those people for $19 a month, like...
Which probably isn't even going to them.
Right, so that's what I'm getting at. So those things, though, like, if you feel those attachments or those judgments come up, like... I think part of just, like, mindfulness and all of that is just, like, noticing it, and then, like, okay, am I just being played on here? Like, is this what this is? Or do I really, like, is there really something in my heart that cares about this? And then I can go and, like, use my time and energy and resources in a place that would actually benefit directly from that to do something and better my community or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. Another way of attachments is, like, the attachment of, knowing. Like, you always have to know the outcome. Okay, so long story short, if you're paying attention to society and, you know, the war and blah blah blah, there's a lot of things going on, right? And one of the things that are personally affecting me is the whole car thing. So I backed off on buying cars recently because I buy and sell classic cars, because that's a luxury item, right? So when the economy's doing well, people are like, woohoo, let's go out and fucking spend some money, buy that car, especially this generation that's, coming to age of retirement. They want the car they went with their fucking the date with their first with their wife, or the car that they first had when they learned how to drive, or their dad's car, blah 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 blah, right? So because they have attachments. Ha See how I soul loop that shit right there? I didn't even try, but so there's like nostalgia and they have attachments to those vehicles. But so when the economy's doing really good, they go out and buy all this shit. Well, now people are getting really like weary, right? They're kind of like, I don't know about all this shit. I don't really want to spend the money. We're gonna back off spending a little money because, things just aren't. The people don't feel safe. So people are like, okay, we're not buying cars, which means I can't go out and buy cars and sell cars and so on and so forth. So with that being said, my financial, overall income has dropped. And that's fine, as long as you're prepared for it and so on and so forth. But in that whole thing, there is an attachment to me that wants to know, like, okay, what do I do now? Like, how is this going to pan out? Like, am I going to be able to sell these cars? Am I going to be able, so I have an attachment to always knowing. Like, I always have like, this is me personally, and a lot of other type A personalities have this challenge to overcome. And, different fucking, I don't know what you call them, personality types have other challenges, sympathetic people, you see the cows and the fucking thing driving down the road, and that's a challenge,
Yeah.
So, which I finally deal with that too, to a degree. So there's attachments in every which way that you can possibly think of. It's just fucking insane. And you have to be able to recognize what those attachments are. Are they healthy or unhealthy? That's what it comes down to. Are these attachments healthy? Do these attachments serve me? Like, I see people my age and their parents dying, and they're like fucking devastated. And I'm like, bro, you're almost fucking 30 years old. Like, you knew they were going to die at some point, and like, I'm already preparing myself for my parents' death for the most part. Like, I'm already very aware they're, both of them are unhealthy, and will continue. Odds are will continue to be healthy, so they're not gonna live till they're fucking 90. So I'm already like mentally like, okay, I'm already coming to terms with this thing because I'd rather do it now than later and not have such an attachment to their death. You know what I mean? And some of it's because it's just smart to do, and some of it's just because that's how I am. You know what I mean?
I know what you're saying.
Like, I'm even preparing myself for Taz's death. Like, so I step back and I take a moment and I'm just like, I breathe him in and whatever else. And, again, we talked about this stuff before. Think about how many more times am I going to be able to do this? And he's really declining recently, like, fast compared to where he was, So I'd say within the past year, he's really declined and, fast.
Oh, yeah, I'd say in the past few months.
Yeah, I agree. So, and I've had that dog since I was, I don't know, I've had him probably for about 13 years, approximately. So, since before I even went to high school, and then all the way through high school, and then to where I'm at today. Like, that's a long fucking portion of my life. About half of my life, approximately, I've had that dog. So it's gonna be devastating when I lose him, because I have such an attachment to him. He's always been around for me. He's always been there, so on and so forth. So I'm already like thinking like, okay, cool. Like, I'm not detaching myself from him necessarily, but I'm recognizing like, okay, he's not gonna be here forever. Like, I'm very aware. You know what I mean? I'm not like, yeah.
As somebody who has a lot more like empathy and sympathy and compassion, and like because I don't want that to, like, because most people are not like you. Let me just say that. Like, you have the ability.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
And, like, have this thought that, like, when these things happen, you're going to be relatively fine. And that's really great. But, like, I think there's also nothing wrong with grieving and having that time and...
Yeah, but I like to be efficient and I like
He
to
likes
overcome.
to be efficient. That's so, like...
Do I not like to be efficient?
You do, but
okay,
I just feel like being like, I'm just going to breeze through these deaths in my
I'm not
life.
saying breeze. I'm saying, like, I'm not going to be, like, well, I already said I was going to be devastated. I'll be devastated for a short period of time compared to where...
But why are you comparing? Like, if that's there, whatever, like, someone's...
Is that serve them or is that healthy for them is my thing. I think overcoming those things, you know, fast and efficient are going to be healthy. I don't think sitting there because you know what happens when you're in a fucked up state? You make fucked up decisions. You know what I mean? So then you're in this fucking state and you're not thinking straight because you're so challenged over this fucking thing that just happened. And now, you know, for instance, I see a lot of people, like their dogs die and they fucking rush out and get another one. You know what I mean? Like, very quick. Because they're trying to basically get rid of that pain and, you know, whatever else. And I'm saying that's a good or bad decision. I'm recognizing these things, you know? Like, I'm aware of what's going on and why they're doing it. Are they aware? I doubt it. You know, I like to give myself, like, Kojak got fucking hit by a car. I watched the motherfucker just get smoked by the fucking van on right outside of our house. Bam! You know, and that was a rough period of time for like that day, and then obviously we're sad for a week or whatever else, and then after that I was like, okay, you know, like he's just gone, like he just, you know, life goes on, you know, and that's...
And again, for you and people that are like you, that's awesome, but I also recognize that there's people that are not, and that's okay. And I think, yes, if you're going to be in a state where you are suffering and you are making the decision to stay in that suffering, that is unhealthy. Absolutely, I agree. But I also think that, like, taking time to grieve and feel your shit, there's nothing wrong with that either. And if that...
I agree. I'm just doing it beforehand. That's the only difference.
But that's... I mean, you can, yes, do certain things up until that point, but there's nothing that's going to be the same as that soul literally being gone. So you can, like, hypothetically, I'm going to, like... Because I do that too with Tazzy. Like, I'll, like, be really intentional with my cuddling, and I'll be really, like, mindful, because I just want to, like, remember those things, but, like, it's still going to be very different when all of a sudden it's, like, not there.
Yeah, but after about a week or two, like...
We'll see.
I
don't know. Well, when I think about, like, Kojak, like, in my head I have this, like, it's going to be really bad, and it will probably suck for a little bit, but, like, Kojak, I think I'm pretty sure he passed away in January-ish, and then we got Coda in April. So, like, clearly we had, like, grieved our stuff enough to be willing and ready to welcome in another dog into our life.
Yeah.
And so...
Yeah. Because I don't like to rush. I mean, sure, would I want to go get another fucking dog right away? Fuck yeah. Because, like, one, I'm new and excited dog I can go get, and then two, I can take my mind off the fucking shit and not even have to deal with it or process it, you know, by distracting myself with this new, you know, whatever thing. But that's not, in my opinion, healthy. That's why I like to take time before, you know, getting into, you know, commitments or relationships or whatever else. So then I can actually, like, okay, this is a good decision.
This is actually what I want.
I'm making this decision with a level, clear-headed, you know, decision, rather than like, oh fuck, I'm all fucked up. You know, like you're not thinking you're fucked up, but you're not thinking clearly because you're dealing with this shit, right? So, yeah, is that still technically attachments?
I feel like it is. That's what I was saying, because even when you were like, well, it's the most fast and efficient, and I bought, like, all of that is, like, a judgment.
Yeah, but who doesn't want to be... I guess fast and efficient is technically a judgment to a degree.
And you're also, I mean, I know you, but correct me if I'm wrong, you're thinking in your head, like, this is the best way to do it, so that's why I do it this way. But, like, who says? Like David. Will you think that David would sit here and say, like, agree with everything that you're saying as far as like I just want to do it the fastest and most efficient way as far as my dog dying, so I'm gonna like do some stuff beforehand.
David
so that...
and I don't always agree on everything.
I know that. That's what I'm saying though.
Like for the ups and the downs, like I'm on or I'm off. There's no on and off. There is for me. There's an on and off for
right.
me.
So that's a good
I'm feeling
example.
on. I'm feeling off.
I feel like we got really stuck on like the dog thing, which is I think just present in our life.
But well, it's very relatable though. Like
yeah, losing your job.
Majority of people have fucking dogs.
Losing your job, having a breakup, like all of those things. I feel like
losing a bunch of money in the market or losing, fucking your source of income. Not just job, source of income. So yeah, like, just is what it is. Like I'm training myself because obviously I am in the progress and journey of developing this skill myself. I've got a buddy that's kind of like really stressed out about this particular market situation with the cars and everything else, and I'm in a similar position. There's obviously differences, but I'm just like, it is what it is, man. I'll figure it the fuck out. I just need to buy time right now, and that's like, I'm an intelligent individual. This is fucking America. Like, people come here to make fucking shit ton of money. Those fucking people up the road, and I'm not being racist or anything else, but they're Arabic or Indian or some shit like that. And I don't fucking know them, but I'm like, dude, they straight came from
ballin'.
they straight came from the original country. I can bet on it. I would be willing to bet on it that they're foreigners that immigrated to America and now they're fucking balling. I'm like, dude, that's a dope ass house. And odds are they own some sort of like stereotypical fucking convenience store, liquor store, some shit like that. But I'm like, dude, they came from here for nothing, probably barely speak the language, and they have no idea how shit works, and they're fucking balling over here. And I'm like, what? I'm fucking retarded then because I've been born here, and that's a whole nother thing, Like we're conditioned to like that. Americans are like, we're so fucking lazy, dude. It's insane. Like,
yeah, and entitled.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with us? I'm like, but we're so used to having all this shit handed to us, to a degree, me included, right? Like, I've always had a fucking roof over my head. I haven't been, privileged as, like your childhood and shit like that, which I'm thankful for. But I could have grew up in a lot worse situation, and that would have made me a much more stronger individual. But fuck, we keep getting off attachment.
Yeah, I know, because I wanted to come back to the statement, it is what it is. Because I think we say that a lot, and it is another one of those, like, I think people have, like, a negative connotation around it. Because when people say it, it sounds flippant, right? Like, it just is what it is. But, like, and coming back to, like, the David things, like, of, like, you're not on or you're not off. You just are. Like, to a degree, I understand that. And that's, like, for the statement, it is what it is. Like, that's what that means for me. Like, it literally just is.
And
like, go ahead.
And maybe part of that, there is, like, there's no on, there's no off. And maybe it's just because I'm not intelligent or I just can't wrap my head around it. Like, maybe that's as simple as it is. Like, maybe I'm just not intelligent enough to grasp that fucking concept. But to me, there's an on and there's an off. And when I'm on, I'm very pleasantly happy. And when I'm off, I'm usually just kind of like lame. I'm not depressed. I'm just, neutral. Like,
but then I like understand like the cyclical of that, because like for you, if you're feeling off, which again is a judgment, but you're totally taking ownership of that like, because so we talked about this, I think, with the emotion thing. Like, if you have an emotion, that's like locking the doorknob. If you have a judgment about that emotion, you're deadbolting it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, that's there's nothing wrong with, like, having the emotion or feeling off or whatever, but then when you come in on the back end and have, like, a judgment about that,
yeah,
like, that's when, like,
I'm not making a judgment about it. I just don't appreciate it. So I cannot appreciate things. Like, I don't appreciate sadness, and I don't appreciate... They're there. I'm not saying they're good or bad. There's a difference between appreciation and unappreciation and good and bad.
Yeah, and I'm not saying... Well, maybe my judgment is different, because you get... I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but, like, annoyed that you're off, and pissy that you're off, and, like, I just want to be on.
In the moment, I am.
Maybe those aren't judgments, and I don't know what you would call those, but they're...
No, I'm Yeah, I mean, it's similar to a judgment. I'm just not like, yeah, it's very similar, if not the same thing, I'd say. Um,
But I mean, I do it too. Like, I'm not just saying you
yeah,
specifically, but
I'm
I
not
just know
saying that.
how.
I'm not crying or complaining that you.
No, I know that. I'm generalizing because you're not the only one that I'm having this conversation with. So I'm saying like not just you, but like I do it too. Of like, and it's not doesn't quite look like yours, obviously, because like you said, different personalities. But like, I don't know, it is what it is.
It is what it is. Full reflection or full circle. Um, yeah. So, yeah.
I think for me, what helps with like the trying not to judge situations is like this too shall pass kind of thing too.
I've already thought about that multiple times.
Because I think especially like
And
like, when you and I are like in a space where we're not connected and we're just like pissy and triggery and annoyed and like I used to get so much more wrapped up into that of like what does this mean about me? What does this mean about him? Like all of these like stories in my head, and I've just really come to like this too shall pass. And like even when it's really good, like there have been times where we've been like on a really great stretch of like we're just connected, things are on, we're feeling good. Like I will remind myself, and it's written on our bathroom mirror, this too shall pass, because like I really need to appreciate this right now because this will leave too eventually. But I think even more so in the shit of like this too shall pass. It always has. It's never been stuck forever. So like why is this going to be any different?
Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, and that comes back to attachment at the end of the day, because you're always attached to the good. I get more attached to the good than the bad. Like if I'm in the bad, I'm just like fuck it, like whatever. Like I don't get attached to it, and I'm just like like oh what if that like you do, but whatever, and I get
an attachment to that.
clearly. So, anyways, fucking Jesus. Throwing me off my thought process.
You have more attachment to the good.
I have more attachment to the good because I always want it to be good, and then I always want it to be better and better and better. Which we'll get it back. Maybe we'll do addictions next week, because like if I'm feeling good, I'm gonna hit that energy drink, boy. I'm getting one.
Yeah.
But if I'm already in this shit, I'm like, well, I should get an energy drink because I feel like shit. Like I have an attachment to the good rather than the bad. I don't think about the bad that much. It's just like it's easy for me. I guess in those things, I have an anxiety attachment to like, oh, what if this? What if this? What if this? Which, in that, because of my thought process, I've built a very, I've like hunkered down and built a very safe place, right? For like my life.
Oh.
So like for instance, paying off the house. It wasn't like this fucking intelligent financial, which it might have been, who knows, but it wasn't about the financial and for me to pay off my house. It was about the security and the safety of us. That's what it was about. I could have went out and bought a newer fucking house and a bigger fucking house and whatever else. Yeah, that's all great and dandy, but then I would have had more anxiety thinking about these things throughout the day. Like, because I have an attachment to my safety or whatever else, which we all do, right? And I decided that it was a good decision from us to pay off our shit, and that would make me feel a lot better, throughout there. So I still have the attachment, but now I have like, soothed the attachment, So, because that's almost like a rational attachment.
Well, I was
you
gonna
know
say
what I
there's
mean?
nothing irrational with caring about being safe.
Yeah.
Like, physically safe.
Yeah.
And having a roof over your head, like that's a rational attachment. Like that makes sense.
But if you're in, like, if you lose your pet or whatever, and you have an attachment for it, a month, whatever, I'm not gonna tell you how long you can fucking do it for. If you come along and I come across you and you're doing it after a year or something stupid, I'm gonna fucking call you out on it probably. I'm like, bro, get the fuck over it. Like, it was a dog. I understand. Like, and your beliefs, I think, also create your attachments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
my mind just went there too.
So, like for me, that fucking dog's not gone forever. Like, for me personally, like I think that I will be I don't know, reunited or whatever. Like I'll experience him again at some point. What that means, don't ask me because I don't fucking know. Right? So, like you can say, oh, you're gonna be in heaven and blah 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 blah, and you know, I don't fucking know. I have no idea. But I do know that energy never dies, and guess what? He's energy, so energy is just going to be transferred. Like, I like using. Some people are like strictly spiritual, and some people are like strictly scientifical. Scientific? I don't know. Whatever. Scientific. And I think there's a place for both. Like, there's room for both. Like, why can't you have both? Like, God created photosynthesis to create the trees and whatever else, so, energy never dies, so he's going somewhere. His energy, his soul, his spirit is going somewhere. And guess
so
what?
will yours.
Yeah, exactly. That's why, like, when, one of my parents die, I'm like, dude, it's not that big of a deal. It's all about how you look at it and, why you're attached to those things because, of your beliefs. Like, if you believe that you're gonna fucking die and then just poof, you don't exist anymore, like, okay, that sucks. But even so, that's even another reason not to give a shit anymore because you're gone, So it's like...
I think, like, what that made me think of, which I don't know if this is going off topic, but, it kind of is. Anyway, focus. Like, if we have too much, maybe it's attachment to, like, our human body, then we have some of those, like, unhealthy attachments as far as, like, to people and animals and those types of things. Because if we have more of a connection, I think, with, like, the spirit in us, then there's that. Because if we think about humans, like, we are finite. There is a point where this human body is no longer going to be living. Absolutely. But the spirit in me will live on forever and ever. Like, that's not going anywhere. And so I think if we, like, incorrectly allocate our attachment between, like, mind, body, spirit, then we can have really messed up attachments outside of our own mind, body, spirit, if that makes sense.
For sure. I think it's just experience in life too, just in general. Like, if you were to die, get hit by a car, whatever, you would, or my life would radically change how I would do things. Like, so, and again, I think it's a process where in the beginning it would be kind of rough, and then as months would go by, like, time heals everything, kind of thing. Like, like now I have new habits and new things, like new
lifestyle.
Yeah, new lifestyle that goes on. So then, it just becomes different. Like, and again, I recognize, like, although in the beginning, yes, it would be very challenging and rough and unpleasant to deal with your death. I do recognize, like, bro, it's not the end of the world. Like, it's just not. Like, I only put so much value on this worldly place because, like, I realize, like, I'm, I might come back again. Who knows? I don't fucking know, Like, I've got no idea, right? So, like, for me to, like, worry about all this stupid shit and have attachments to all this, unnecessary things, because when you're attached to unnecessary things or attached to things that don't serve you or are not healthy, you ruin your experience.
You ruin the present moment.
Yeah, you ruin your experience of life. Like, so the longer I fucking obsess over your death, I'm unpleasant. I don't, I'm probably unpleasant for other people. I'm probably, I'm obviously unpleasant for myself, like, why does that make sense to be unhappy or unpleasant or whatever else? Not, like, not that unhappy is good or bad or whatever else, but if I have an experience, a preferred experience, like, I'd rather be happy than sad. So the faster I process over attachments, the faster I'm able to overcome and potentially be happy. It's okay, you're really not dead.
I know that, thanks.
You're welcome.
So I can talk.
Yeah.
That also, what came to mind too when you were talking about that, of, like, worrying about silly little things too, is just like life is, that's the game of life or something, like taking things not so seriously.
Life is a comedy.
That too, yeah. Which is definitely, like, a new practice that you would have to, like, implement, but I think something just came up recently and we were kind of, like, annoyed or frustrated or whatever, and then you were just like, I just have to laugh about it, like, life's a comedy.
Yeah, which is easy to say but harder to embody. You know, there's difference between conceptualizing a concept, which I'm really good at, and embodying the concept. Because like when you're actually embodying, basically means experiencing. Like
Right.
and you're able to experience it, and sometimes you like go to embodying it and conceptualizing it, embodying it, conceptualizing. You go back and forth at times, depending on the experience and your this life's uh, lesson. Fuck. Um, so you have to be able to embody it, and that's the key. Like that's the key because you can conceptualize things, and that's what intellectuals do. You know, they conceptualize things and all that bullshit. And you know, there's a time and a place for conceptualization, and I'm really good at conceptualization. And depending on the task, I'm decent at embodying things. You know, depending on what it is. Like I can embody hard work and blah blah blah, but I can't embody fucking
Is what it is.
yeah is what it is. Like I say it all the time, but I'm usually saying is what it is. Literally, right? That's how I fucking typically say it. Like I'm irritated as shit when I have
It's
to
more of
say
like a reminder to yourself to try to like.
It's just emotion I go through at this point in life. Like like I'd rather like I'm just going through the motions. I can conceptualize it. Like I get it, I understand it, but I'm not living it. So yeah, I think that's really all I had in terms of this shit.
Yeah, the wrap up of this one's gonna be fun. I feel like we were all over.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Long story short, just don't be attached to shit.
Yeah, and I think like we gave lots of examples, but I think you guys could probably just think about examples in your own life too, where you have these attachments and.
Next time you have an emotion, like a heightened emotion, like step back and be like, hey, like, am I attached to this? You know.
I haven't thought about that.
Bet you are.
I thought about that earlier because we kind of got in like a argument-ish. I got super triggered and went from like 0 to 60 really fast. And so then generally after those moments, I like take some time by myself and I was like laying in bed just kind of like thinking and crying and the things that I do. And
this was today.
Yeah, earlier this morning. And I was laying there and I was like, at first you have all these really big emotions and I'm like, grr, whatever. But then I'm laying there and I'm like, I just like really took that like I just ran with it. Like, yes, I was triggered, and like, sure, you could have said what you said differently, like, whatever. But I was like, I also I was super attached to that, and like, kind of questioning, like, why? Like, that was like a really big attachment for me to have in that moment with that situation, which then led me to like some like internal dialogue about like what else is going on internally. Like, is there some other stuff going on that is like under the surface that I was not aware of, choosing not to be aware of potentially, that like in this moment came out really big and huge. So that was helpful. I mean, granted, like in the moment I didn't do it because it did get big and huge, and I was super attached, and it was like blah. But then when I took my time to like, okay, where did that attachment come from? Why was it so big? And I may not always have answers. I didn't necessarily have answers. I just had like an internal like pointer to like maybe it was something else, and I don't know what that something else is, but like okay. That's why that got like that, and then attachment was so big and whatever, because there's potentially something else. It wasn't that thing. So.
I'm attached to a chia pet.
You are.
Quick story. So, forever ago, one of my family members gifted this Elmer Fudd chia pet to
like a goofy
somebody.
Gift.
No, it wasn't even supposed to be a goofy gift, I don't think. I'm not sure.
Oh.
I don't think it was supposed to be a goofy gift at all.
Oh.
It was just supposed to be a gift to somebody.
Okay.
And it was, like, got so much attention that I don't know whether my mom regifted it. Probably my mom, odds are. But my mom probably regifted it to somebody else. And then literally for the past, like, as long as I can remember, like, as far as family Christmases, somebody got that fucking chia pet.
That's how long it's been in circulation?
It's been in circulation a long time. That's why I was like, I'm fucking irritated. I was irritated in the beginning, right? And I've even considered, like, this is how irrational of attachment is. Like, I considered going on Amazon and finding one or eBay or something.
Did you finish the story though?
Basic.
So it got re-gifted to this person, and
So
then
it got regifted. It's been getting regifted for fucking years and years and years, and then it got regifted to this guy, and like now it just disappears. And I even asked him, but odds are I already know what to do. You know what happened with it because I'm just like that and I know things. And so then I'm like irritated with this, and I'm like, okay, like I'm just attached, and so I'm creating my own suffering or whatever else. And I'm not like over. Obviously, any attachment to the Chia-Pet is irrational attachment, right? Like I recognize this shit, because like I even told you.
when they're cleaning, like maybe we'll find the Chia-Pet.
No, I just told you I'm fucking attached to that thing, like. So like now I want to get it and find it and whatever else, and I'll be like like no, like everything's okay, but I have an attachment to that thing, and it's an irrational attachment, and I recognize it's an irrational attachment, and some people might not call it an irrational attachment, like but to the degree that I like want it, I'd say it's definitely an irrational attachment. So anyways, I think that's it. Like I was like, fucking stupid, dude. Why are you attached to that stupid thing? Just because it's been around for so long, and it always gets passed. So it's like a traditional. Like I'm attached to the tradition of whatever. So, but yeah, that's it. Just to show you how fucking ignorant attachments can be. I'm attached to a Chia-Pet, or was, whatever. I'm in the process of not being attached to the Chia-Pet.
And sometimes we have attachments that might not even necessarily be ours. Like the Lions. Like my dad has grown, like my whole life grew up watching the Lions, so like I liked the Lions.
Yeah,
right?
we'd have
Like,
to sit there and watch them lose every week.
We would have to. Good grief. Could I pointed a gun to your head? So yeah, like we'd watch them play, and I like all those things, and then I eventually like realized like I personally don't really even. I mean, I do like football, and I do like watching like sports and things. So, but like not enough to like sit there and every Sunday, especially to watch them lose. Like that's not my attachment. That was somebody else's attachment that I just like let bleed into my life and accepted as my own until I got to a point where I was like, is that even mine? Like, it's not.
The only reason I watched them with you is because we had the bets.
Yeah, we had bets on games. I lost a lot. Well, when we had bets, they were still losing a lot, but they at least won some every now and then.
Yeah.
This was like 3-4 years ago, maybe, that we were watching pretty consistently. 4, maybe. Anyway, just those things too. That like just be curious about stuff, I guess.
Yeah, for real, dude. I've always been a curious person. Like, I don't know if I've been curious as, rebellious. I think rebellious is more of the thing for me.
More accurate.
Yeah, it's more. I'm not curious. I'm just rebellious. Like, we just did that one on rules, and literally, I just fucking hate people's rules. Like don't climb on that. You can get hurt. Like, you might get hurt. I'm fucking fully capable of my skill set. So, even if I do, it's none of your business. So yeah. Anyways, fucking attachments. They can serve us, and they can also do us damage and harm. So, recognize, like, what you're attached to. A lot of us don't even recognize our attachments, in my personal opinion, unless you're, like, actively paying attention to your feelings and where your mind goes.
Yeah, they can definitely be really subconscious.
Yeah.
If you're not paying attention
Or
to your
subtle.
own stuff. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, subconscious, subtle. So just audit your life. Like, that's a great fucking saying right there. Thought. Just audit your life. Like, you have to. People, I don't know. Like, companies get audited all the time. Like, as far as doing things.
Like,
so,
fine-tooth comb looking through that stuff.
Yeah, to make sure everything's correct and on the up and up. So just, maybe we can do a podcast about this. Audit your life. Now I'm going to fucking run with that.
Sounds good.
Bam!
Copyright.
So, yeah, I don't know. You want to close this shit out? I mean, there's not a whole lot to fucking close out on, I feel like. Or there is, and I just don't want to go over it.
Yeah,
like,
I'm more
because
feeling that. I think just realistically, again, like you said, our attachments can serve us. They can also have us, keep us struggling. They just be mindful, I guess, of like whether or not the attachment is healthy once you come to realize it. But again, just also be curious and
be willing to let go. That's a huge thing. Be willing to let go of your attachments because like that, like stupid as it is, that chia pet, like just let it go. Like you're attached to it. You're clinging on to it. You know, you're just like, just fucking let it go. Whatever it is, just let it be.
Mm-hmm.
Move on. You know, like.
Yeah, and that can, fall into all the categories, right? Like a job situation, a spouse situation, a kid situation, like.
Yeah.
Especially if you don't have any control.
Yeah, especially if you don't have any control, just let it go. So I don't have control of the car market or any of that shit. So I'm just letting it go, moving on. I'm intelligent enough to be able to figure out something else, obviously, and go from there. So, like, that's it. I'm just gonna fucking. We're dragging on!
Yeah, we're gonna call it. All right. Thank you all for being here, for listening. We appreciate you. Catch us on the social medias.
YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Go like, share anything you see. Appreciate that. I should do a monetizing thing. Like this podcast is not monetized. So the only thing we ask, like Andy Frisella, he does that.
No.
We don't make any money off this podcast. Blah blah blah. The only thing we ask is if you found it helpful or you found something to be that you think would help others and shit like that. Like share it.
I like it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So probably haven't ever listened to Frisella, the CEO and shit.
I've listened to like bits and pieces. I don't think I've ever finished one.
Gotcha. So yeah, feel free to share this if it's helped you or if you think somebody else can help it if they have irrational attachments.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's about it. I'm throwing it out there now, so then I have to be accountable. We're eventually going to start doing lives within the next week or two on Facebook. And I don't really know what they're going to be about. We thought about the 4 a.m. club or the 4:30 a.m. club to, challenge people to get up early and maybe go to the gym and so on and so forth. But we'll see where it goes. So we have not decided. But that's it. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And we are outie. See you guys later.